So you're thinking about moving to Franklin, Tennessee. Well, in this video, we're gonna cover everything you need to know about Franklin, Tennessee. We're gonna cover the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the yin, the yang, the in and out, everything you would want to know when moving to a new town. And I'm gonna let you decide whether or not Franklin is a spot for you. So with all that being said, we're getting after it right now. Welcome back to another video. So if you all are new to the channel and you love content on living in Nashville, moving in Nashville, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You're going to find a lot of content we drop all the time. You definitely don't want to miss out. So in this video, like I said, we're going to cover everything about Franklin, Tennessee. The good, the bad, the in and out. And we're just going to really go over some things that could be a pro or that could be a con when moving to Franklin, Tennessee. I wrote down a few things on a list here, and I'm going to share these numbers with you. And I'm going to let you be the judge. You decide whether or not Franklin, Tennessee is the spot for you. So the first thing about Franklin, Tennessee that I want to share with you all is going to be the elevation. The elevation of Franklin, Tennessee is going to be coming in at 643 feet above sea level. And why do I bring that up? Because, well, elevation is a really important thing. Let's say you have a health problem. And we're going to talk a little bit more about health in the later end of this video. You definitely want to stick around. Well, let's just say you have a health problem. Living in a higher or lower altitude might make or break the difference in where you move to. So like comparing Nashville or Franklin in this video compared to, let's say, Denver. Denver's going to be at like 5,000 feet above sea level versus Franklin here is only 643 feet above sea level. Huge difference. So again, that might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. The second thing that we're going to talk about Franklin, Tennessee is going to be the square miles. Franklin's coming in at about 43 miles, 43 miles square wide. And the reason why I say that is based on the population, based on the amount of homes there are for sale, how many homes are in existence, how many families there are, you're going to either find that some of the properties are really scrunched together, or you're going to have a lot of acreage in between your homes. So you have animals. There are certain parts of Franklin where you do have some acreage. And let's say you don't want a bunch of land and you want an HOA and you want to live in a subdivision, you're also going to have a bunch of options to live in a subdivision in Franklin. So the next thing I'm going to talk about in Franklin is we just got done covering where Franklin is in terms of where it's sitting in the elevation, but we're also going to cover where it's sitting in terms of location. So Franklin is sitting at about 21 miles south of Nashville. If you were to take the 65 south and shoot straight down, that's going to shoot you right into Franklin. You're sitting at about 25 to 35 minutes, from Nashville, depending on where you're at in Franklin and where you're going in Nashville. In terms of the airport, Franklin's about 35 minutes as well from the B&A Nashville airport here. So a couple other things that I wanted to share with you about Franklin, Tennessee. Again, this could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, is we're going to compare some numbers from the 2010 and the 2020 census in terms of the growth. Has Franklin grown? How much has it grown? How little has it grown? In 2010, Franklin had a population of 62,000 people. In 2020, from the census, the population in Franklin, Tennessee was 83,000 people. So in 10 years, the population has gone up 20,000 people. Really not that much, but if we go back to the beginning of Franklin to when Franklin was started in 1799 by a guy named Abram Murray. And he actually named Franklin after the one and only Benjamin Franklin. So if we compare 1799 to 2010, the population, 62,000 people, now we're at 83,000 people. So yes, Franklin is growing at a really rapid rate, as a lot of Nashville and the surrounding areas are. So in 2010, the Franklin area, there were about 16,000 homes. Not homes that are for sale, but homes that are in existence. In 2020, the amount of homes that are in existence is 32,000 homes. So we're talking from 2010 to 2020, the amount of homes in Franklin, Tennessee have doubled. So the next thing we're going to talk about in Franklin, Tennessee in terms of the growth is in 2010, there were approximately about 11,000 families. In the 2020 census, there were 23,000 families. So in just that 10-year span, the amount of families have more than doubled. So if we look at the population again from 62,000 to 83,000, so just 20,000 people more, not a huge difference, but the amount of homes from 16,000 to 32,000 have doubled, which makes sense from 11,000 to 23,000, why the amount of families have doubled as well. So there's a couple of things that I want to share with you about Franklin in this video, and we're going to talk about the education. A lot of families are moving to Franklin, Tennessee. As a real estate agent, I find that families are really worried about where they send their kids. Am I moving to a safe area? Am I moving to a good school district? And that's what we're going to talk about here in this next video, in this next section, is we're going to cover some ratings of the Franklin School District. So the education of Franklin, Tennessee, there's a couple things going good with the education program in the Williamson County area. Franklin, Tennessee is one of the top areas in the state of Tennessee for education. Franklin High and Page High, well, if you look at my last videos on what you can get in Franklin, Tennessee from $500,000 and $700,000, I'm going to cover a little bit about Franklin High and about Page High School. But just so you should know, Franklin High and Page High School, they are going to be in the top 10 schools in the entire state of Tennessee, coming in at number 7 and number 8. Which is right behind Brentwood, number 5 and number 6, Brentwood High and Ravenwood High, which is right here in Brentwood. They're going to be coming in at number 5 and 6. So 5, 6, 7, 8 are all going to be in Williamson County, the top schools in the state of Tennessee. So you're like, hey, am I moving to a good area? Am I moving to a safe area? That's just something to know that, you know, Brentwood has some really good areas. Franklin has some really good areas in terms of what is a good school and what is a bad school. So let's dive a little bit deeper. What makes a school number 7 or number 8? What makes a school come in at number 5 or number 6? So a couple of things, and this is going to be comparing Brentwood High, Franklin High, Page High, and Ravenwood High. We're going to compare all 4 schools, and you're going to find that the graduation rate in these 4 high schools is anywhere from 97 to 98%. Most kids in these schools graduate. That's almost 100% that every single senior in that high school is going to walk the stage. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is the teacher to student ratio. These schools, they don't want to bog down these teachers with a lot of students. You'll find some high schools have anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 45 kids in a classroom for one teacher. And the teacher, it's really hard for them to teach all that amount of kids and for every single kid to get the proper amount of attention. So in these schools, the teacher to student ratio is going to be 16 to 1. So you're going to find that the classrooms have anywhere from like 14, 15, 16 kids per classroom per teacher. So the last thing that I wanted to share and top all this off in terms of our education in the Franklin, Williamson County area is these schools, they are going to be coming in the top 17% in the nation. You're talking the whole entire country. Franklin, Tennessee, Brentwood, Tennessee, this Williamson County area, our education system is going to be coming in again, top 17%. Really, really high number. And yeah, so is this good? Is it pro? Are you sending your kids to a safe area? Again, I'm going to let you be the judge whether or not. These are just the numbers. The last thing I wanted to share with you about Franklin, Tennessee is if you got a lot of health problems, you have a lot of options in Franklin, Tennessee. There are a lot of doctors. There's a lot of medical care going on. There's a lot of headquarters. There's a lot of options in terms of moving to an area where if you need a doctor, you're most likely going to have that doctor. And again, if the doctor's not in Franklin, you got Vanderbilt here in Nashville, Tennessee, which is one of the top medical schools, hospitals in the entire nation. So a lot of options in terms of healthcare in Franklin, Nashville.